All right, y'all. In this video, we're going to get to some actual weaving, but not before we put in our shed stick. These are holding the threads that are on shaft 4. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. I'm going to go ahead and hem stitch the bottom of my piece to start. Um, I have grown to enjoy hem stitching, and so that's the way I usually will start out my weaving if I'm not weaving something that's in double layers or something like that. You can start out your piece in whatever way you most enjoy doing it. But I just like to secure my ends so that I know when I'm done I can just go ahead and cut my piece from my loom, and I know that it's not going to come apart. So I'm just doing my hem stitching across. The nice thing about, weaving your twills and your multi-shaft designs and such like that is it's a simple layer. So, it's pretty straightforward. You're weaving a piece of cloth, and you're adding designs and such, but you're just not having to use a bunch of pickup sticks and do a whole lot of different type of patterning and whatnot. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to put my heddle 3, which is the second shaft. I'm going to put that in neutral because I'm only going to be working with my shafts 1 and 3, which are on heddles 1 and 2. So remember, even though your heddle 1 is the one closest to you, heddle 2 is the one that's behind that one. Heddle 1 represents shaft 1 and heddle 2 represents shaft 3. So it may take a little bit of thinking to get that figured out, but once you get it, it's so simple because you're raising, right? And you'll see that this is very useful as we go on. So I'm going to keep weaving some, just going back and forth doing plain weave, or it's also called tabby weave, and that is woven by using shafts 1 and 3. So I'm going to do a few more shots of plain weave. If you're working on just, you know, what am I trying to say? If you're just trying to get the feel of working with the whole idea of multiple heddles and just trying to play, I would say that using plain weave is just a nice way to reset, right? Sometimes you may get confused, you may lose your place in your weaving. You're like, where am I? What am I supposed to do? Am I on shaft 1 or shaft 3 or shaft 4? As you do this for a while, you'll be able to manipulate the heddles and see which threads are raised so you don't get lost. But like with any skill, it takes a little bit of time to be able to see your mistakes and to be able to fix them. So when I first started this, I would use weaving in plain weave as a way to sort of reset me back to 0, or doing tabby for a few rows. And then I go back and I would start trying to weave my pattern, whether that's 2 2 twill or 1 1 3 twill or 3 1 twill, whatever it happened to be. Going back to plain weave gave me a nice time to reset and get my bearings again, so that I could continue practicing or trying out a different skill. So what we're basically just going back and forth. I do have floating salvages, but I don't really need to use them here. I'll explain more about the floating salvages as I start to weave the 2 2 twill. All right, so I had started off weaving a little bit just to get the feel, and so I'm showing you now that this is shaft 1 and 2, and I'm going to be lifting these together. I'm pushing back my pickup stick, and I'm turning that so you can see what it is. But I'm just holding shaft 1 and 2 together so that I can weave that, do that lift. So what you're going to want to do, especially when you're starting out, is you're going to want to look and see what threads are moving, right? So as you raise the shafts, you can obviously see what threads are moving when you raise shaft 1. When you raise shaft 2, which is that third heddle, you want to look at what threads are moving. The threads are going to be adjacent, side by side each other, and you'll be able to check to make sure you picked up the right threads if, when you put your pickup stick in, you see the threads sitting side by side with an even space between them. That way you know that you've gotten the right threads. This is why I say it's a good idea just to go ahead and warp your loom for a straight draw and practice doing straight draw first, and then go ahead and start playing with some patterns. But understand your straight draw first and then play with patterns. What just happened is that I'm trying to figure out where my floating salvages are. Your floating salvages, you're going to want to go either over or under those threads that you put in as a floating salvage on either side. If you go over once, then you're going to go under. If you go under, then you're going to go over. The reason for this is that with every pass, with every pick, you're not always going to pick up the side threads if you're not using a floating salvage. I'm telling you right now, I'm about to do shaft 1 and shaft 4. That's why I turned my pickup stick, and I'm being careful to try to figure out where my floating salvage is, and I'm using that second shuttle, the shuttle that's closest to me, as a pickup stick to be able to create the shed to pass my shuttle through. As I am weaving, the main thing that I'm trying to be, pay attention to be cognizant of is my floating salvages so that my edges are neat, and also I'm paying attention to the threads. Now you see that I've moved shaft 1 or heddle 1 forward, and I'm working behind heddle 1. I've turned my shaft 4 or the pickup stick onto its side, and that's raising those threads that are raised when all the other shafts are lowered, and then I put my pickup stick in front of um, shaft 3, which is heddle 2, so I can be sure to see what threads I need to turn in order to make the pick. All right. It can seem tedious at first, but I think this is a whole lot less tedious than trying to do the same thing or achieve the same thing by, having to move your pickup sticks and pick across, make a pass, across, make a pass. I think that this is a whole lot simpler, but you can see how to do it two ways and you can make your own decision. I just did the same thing. I'm doing the pick with um, shafts 2 and 3. And so I put the pickup stick behind heddle 1 so that I'd be able to see the threads that are being raised. And now I'm going to do shafts 1 and 2. And so in order to do that, I have to kind of work with it. I see the threads are in shaft 1, and now I'm looking at what threads move when I raise shaft 2. So I'm holding them, and then I put that I'm using extra shuttle to work as a pickup stick to see what threads that are being held up as I hold up shafts 1 and 2. And as I look across, I can see what's being held up. I also want to make sure that I catch my floating salvage. So if I don't catch it in the with my pickup stick, then I'll use my shuttle to catch the threads on either side. If you're going, you want to go over or under the floating salvage in order to make sure that your twill is going all the way to the edge. If you don't, on the passes where it doesn't come all the way to the edge, you're going to have an uneven salvage, and you'll just have gaps in long pieces of string. And so you're just going to keep going like that. You're going to just take your time at first. After a while, it'll become very clear which of the threads are rising on each different pick, right? And if you get lost, what you're going to do is just pick up, start picking up the threads and see which of the threads are raised. And then if you're going in order, then just try, if you're going weaving an ascending twill, which is 1 2 2 3 3 4, um, 4 1, then you're going to just try to figure out where you're supposed to be in the succession. And it's okay if you make a mistake, just weave some tabby until you're clear again. But you're just going to keep going, back and forth. You may want to go ahead and you're going to, especially if you're using a Cricut loom, you're not going to have a lot excuse me, of space in front of your heddle. So you may want to advance a little bit more often if you find that the you're getting a little bit cramped. And so, so that you can have space to be able to weave and not feel like you're very, very close. Now you can see to my right, that is actually the hand-drawn example that I showed you. I think that was in lesson 2, and I'm just following it to see, what I'm supposed to be lifting up. When I am, like right now, because I'm trying to demonstrate this for you, I'm trying to make sure that I am weaving the the pattern in a way that is consistent so that you can see you can see this woven consistently. This is not something that I would normally this isn't the type of thing that I would just do, right? I mean, I added in a little bit of flair by putting a few dark strings on that left hand side, but by and large I'm not going to just generally sit down and weave something like this. There had to be something a little bit more interesting. I would probably be working with a thicker thread and in the warp that's colored, or a black warp with some type of colored thread to give me some interest and desire to do this. But for you, my dear member, I am doing this, and yes, taking my time thinking about what I'm doing so that you can see how it can be done. Once you've done it for a little while, you're going to develop some speed. This is real time. I did not speed up this video because I felt it was important for you to see, me doing this in real time so that you can, get an idea about what it will take and how long it'll take to be able to do it, and the process. And you can see, or maybe you can tell, that I am, thinking about each pick and trying to figure out, okay, what am I supposed to be doing here? What do I want to do? Where am I going next? Um, but and I'm also trying to make sure I catch my floating salvages, because if I went under the floating salvage, then I'm going to go over it the next pick. If I go over the floating salvage at one pick, I'm going to go under it the next. That's what I'm trying to negotiate right there, the next pick. And like I said, the reason why you're doing this is because you want to make sure your salvage is being caught on each pass, so that on the passes that have picks that do not go all the way to the edge, that you're still catching your edges in, so your edges um, look nice. I mean, now I say that being the person that says that there is no mistakes and like go with the flow and enjoy what you're doing, and I totally believe in all of that. And if you say, forget my edges, I'm just going to play, then do that, do that. And then once you're comfortable just getting the weaving down without worrying about the floating salvages, then add them, because I know that, for many of you, that is going to mess with you in like a deep way if you have these crazy long warp threads running up the sides of your salvages and you don't know why. It bugged me when I first started, because I'm like, I got the concept, but why is this doing this? This is not supposed to be like this, why? And then I understood, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is how you fix that. Gotcha. But that first piece of multi-shaft weaving, the one that's the picture for this course, and the picture for this module, that one, I had like these long floats that was really messing with me, and I don't remember how I figured it. I think I just compensated by going over or under different threads. I didn't know about the floating salvage, and so I just like I'm like, no, this can't be right. So I would just go over and under, and some of the edges weren't exactly right, but they didn't have those long, floating, warp threads, and I was okay with that until I figured out how to fix it in a more permanent and explainable way. But so it bugged me too. But if you just are wanting to just weave and not have to worry about what I'm doing here, then don't worry about the floating salvage, right? Just learn how to do the basics of this. Do it on a piece of, do it on some warp that you're okay with it not being perfect, weave something and then just like turn it into a pillow or something like that so you can sew down the edges and it doesn't make sense, or sew it to a piece of fabric and turn that into something. Just do something so that you can feel no pressure with perfection. That's the thing, perfection. And I want a perfect, a surgeon that has a perfect record. I want someone, if you're doing something that is going to be life and death, I'd like it that you're pretty good at what you're doing. I want you to be strive for perfection in those things. But as it comes to like hobbies and crafts, I guess if I'm listening to something classical, I'd rather if you played it well, and it's really fulfilling to listen to a piece of music that is played to perfection. But then there's sometimes, it's kind of cool to listen to stuff that has mistakes, whether obvious or just because a person is human and their humanity is expressed in the piece of art. And such is my long ramble to tell you that just enjoy this process. It's really fun. It's really cool to see the fabric start to take shape, to see the patterns start to take shape, and it's like I find it kind of thrilling that I'm doing something I'm using this tool in a way that is really expanding my options. I'm doing something that allows me to get more out of the tool that I have. And so that makes me happy. Um, and being able to do it perfect is not as important as just being able to enjoy doing it, understanding that the more I do it, the more proficient I will become, and perfection comes as you become more proficient. And so, yes, you're just gonna this is just tutu twill. Again, in the next lesson I'm going to be showing you how to do 1 3 and 3 1 twill. I can never off the top of my head, let me see, under 1 over 3. Yes, 1 3 twill, I'm pretty sure of it, is the one I like the best because you're not moving as many heddles. I like that more than 2 2 twill, and I definitely like it more than 3 1 twill. I'm pretty sure that's the one. It's the one where you're only lifting one heddle at a time. But I'm showing you how to do all of these ones so you'll know the mechanics of it, and then you can make your own decision. You can do whatever one you will enjoy the most, and you can pick patterns that use the lifts that you find most enjoyable to do. And maybe even if you don't find it enjoyable to get the satisfaction of the completed project, you'll do lifts that maybe might be tedious for others. But this is all about you learning to use your loom more so that you can be more creative, so you can have more fun and you can truly expand your options. So anyway, that is it for this video. I am going to be, in the next video, I'm going to be showing you how to weave 1 3 and 3 1 twill. And I am looking forward to seeing all of the samples and finished creations that you make using these techniques. All right, y'all. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.